This is Believe in Buckeyes. I'm Bryant Browning with All-American cornerback Chimdi Chekwa. We got some real football to talk about. Our guys entered the shoe to have their spring showcase game, whatever you want to call it, practice in front of fans, man. Whatever, it was a good time. Chim, how you doing over there, man? Enjoy the spring game?
I enjoyed the spring game. You know, I'm on record saying that we shouldn't read too much into the spring game. Like it's almost like one practice out of how many they had this spring, 15, 16, 17.
15 opportunity. 15 opportunity.
But I'm gonna read a lot into the spring game, man. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good game. They almost didn't fully have this. They almost, they was gonna make it more of a showcase coming off a national championship. But I'm glad they had it. I think Ryan Day is also glad that they did it. You know, there's a lot of players that haven't played a ton of football, and you go into a season, and their next game in front of 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 fans is going to be a big game against Texas. So this is the last time they're gonna get the opportunity to do what they did. So I'm glad they got a chance to do it, and a lot of good stuff came out of this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm glad they went with their house. It's not a game, but it's like a scrimmage format, right? Offense versus defense, separate them and kind of move the ball in different situations. They definitely got after it. He got live with the twos and threes a lot, even some with the ones, some tackling things of that nature. And I think the one biggest thing that we got to see a lot of our young guys doing different things, what they actually look like in the eye test, right? With us fans or us kind of really looking at it and seeing them. And two, I think the biggest thing is I didn't see anyone get hurt. So that's always a plus as well whenever you have an opportunity to practice. But what everyone wants to talk about, what you want to talk about, what I want to talk about, obviously is spring ball, and we have a QB competition between Julian, Sayin, and Lincoln competing for that QB1 spot. And it's funny enough, obviously, like you said, it's just a spring. You don't want to hold too much into it. But man, somebody stood out, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen enough. I think listen, there's the whole spring, Ryan Day has been clear that both quarterbacks have been neck and neck. For the most part, Lincoln Kienholz has probably had in totality a better spring going into the spring game. But just watching Sayin just deliver the ball with accuracy, good timing, moving well within the pocket, stepping up when he needed to. And Julian Sayin is like, what is he, like 6 foot? He's not the tallest.
He's not the tallest guy, right?
Back there. So operating the pocket, being able to find those windows and delivering that ball with pinpoint accuracy. I'm listen, like watching some of those passes, it gave me flashbacks to CJ Stroud. I don't want to overreact to a spring game. A spring game where the defense is not really giving them all of the defenses, all of the looks that it can, and all the looks that he will get in a matchup against another team. But his poise, his ability to deliver the ball on time and on target was it was just impressive. And what I always said for him, we've seen him throw the ball on the air. We've seen him throw the ball in certain control situations, and he has a special arm. He has a special talent. But the reality of football is it's not played on the air, right? So the question for him was always, how fast can he develop and grow and get comfortable seeing what he's seeing versus a defense that's moving, giving him different looks, and how comfortable can he be in the pocket and be able to deliver those same type of passes that we know he can do when you remove that defense. I saw it in the spring game. So I personally, shout out to all the quarterbacks. I thought, overall it was a solid showing from all three quarterbacks. But if Ryan Day was to call my phone or shoot me a text or send me a DM and say, "Hey Chim, who do you think should be the guy to lead this team moving forward as a number one quarterback?" My response would be Super Saiyan.
Yeah,
right, Super Saiyan. So
yeah, no, I think that's kind of spot on. I mean, he had himself a day, right? I mean, obviously everyone was kind of critical, and knowing that this is a QB competition. Like, what are we going to see out of these quarterbacks? Do we have one? Because we remember a couple years ago, we got into the spring showcase or game, whatever you want to say, and we was like, none of these quarterbacks really impressed me.
Right.
I think And now I went to the game. I was in the stands. Shout out to my guy Justin, man. He flew in from Vegas to go to the spring game. He didn't come in just for the spring game, but he was in Ohio. We went to the game together. So, you watching it, right? Like, what are these guys going to bring to the table? Who could actually do it? And you watch Julian Sayin go out there and just kind of have himself a day. And obviously, there's a lot of noise from a week of practice, right? Where he's like, man, Leakin looked it really good, looked it really well. And in the spring game, to be honest, he didn't look bad, right? He had some scoring drives.
Yeah.
He made some throws. He was able to step up in the pocket and show some of that athletic ability and use his feet on occasion. But Sayin just looked that great, right? It was just like, man, well, no matter what, I think we could say we got some QBs in the room that could play. Because even we probably hit St. Clair a little bit. Obviously, true freshman. He showed some ability as well. But we could relieve a sigh that, we definitely got some quarterbacks that could play. And overall, it just looked like, as Coach Day and Hartline into his first year offensive coordinator, our offense should be a good one, contending in the right places when it comes to the season and scoring points and be able to move the ball and things like that of the nature.
Yeah, I can imagine. You say, we could breathe a sigh of release. I just imagine Hardline and Coach Day and who's the QB coach, Fessler, just, going back and watching the spring game film and just high-fiving each other like, we did it, guys. We're ready to go. This guy's ready to go. Because, when you look at Sayin, I mentioned, watching him throw and seeing the arm talent. You kind of want him to be the guy. Like if you the coaches would never say it, but if at their best, if all quarterbacks were performing at their best, there's one guy that we know in Sayin, he just has a special arm.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things he has to work through to be able to get there. I think, based on where they placed him last year in terms of the ranks of quarterbacks and going into this year, I think they felt like he would be the guy. And I'm not sure they saw what they wanted to see from him until this spring game. And the hope is that they can continue that. But for Lincoln, for him, I really hope and I believe he will continue to compete throughout the season. Because what people don't realize is a football team needs multiple players at a position.
Yeah.
And the way things work out in football, like at any point in the season, you can go win a job. So this competition is far from over.
Far from over. Yeah.
I've seen enough, but that's not how life works, right? So this competition is far from over. And the other thing for players got to understand that this is a long race you're running. This race goes beyond a spring competition, a camp competition. You're trying to develop to maximize your full potential and then be in position to play in the NFL. The reality is, if you can't get on the field in college, you probably won't be an NFL quarterback, right? So for Lincoln, just continuing to develop and build and then figure out at some point when when I'm ready to go, I'm going to get an opportunity, whether it's here or somewhere else, to be able to put myself in a position to take that next step. So, like you said, man, I was happy to see it, even from the freshman, St. Clair, coming in, finally getting comfortable. Man, the kid looks good, man. So I was happy. I was happy from that showing from the quarterbacks. And it felt good to be able to sit back, watch the spring game, and know that that the next guys coming up, they're ready to go.
Yeah, right. And I guess I want to shout out because they look really strong because once again, this is football. The guys up front, man, they look really strong, man. I think going into this spring that we had a little bit of question marks, right, when it came to our offensive tackles. I think the offensive line in the middle, we knew we had a big unit, the guys coming back, a strong unit. Yeah. But Coach Day was saying, like, how he got guys playing all over the place, right? Some of his guys that line up inside, he's lining them up outside, just so he can have a good unit going into the season that where he could play his best guys and the guys are not so pinpointed in at certain positions. And I think they played well, man. I mean, obviously we had, like I said, we had 2 transfers off the tackle spot. Big EO at left tackle, he started there. Phillips was at right tackle. He was more with the 2s, 1s a little bit rotating. there. But I think as a unit, all those guys played well. They played so well, man. We question our defensive line. To be honest, it's like these guys are like really getting the job done in the run and in the pass, and giving our quarterbacks very clean looks at making plays and throwing the ball, all across the field to multiple guys from there. But I guess real quick, from the spring, obviously want to highlight some guys. Anybody kind of stand out to you, or maybe some impressive play that that you weren't maybe quite expecting going into the spring game and kind of seeing them live?
In terms of who I was expecting, I don't know about based on expectations. I really walked in with no expectations, but I thought Marlon Graham had a good day.
Oh yeah.
I'm always going to shout out to guys who wear number 5 because I truly believe you put the 5 on, your floor is special.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the guy who was guarding him was wearing number 5. A lot of the guy who was guarding him most of the day was wearing number 5 as well, Aaron Scott. But Marlon Graham had a very, very impressive day. I think Ryan Day had mentioned that he has every tool. We just want him to continue to finish the plays, and he finished a lot of plays. And it's interesting. They got so many receivers.
Yeah,
many receivers.
Yep.
So we'll see how much of his playmaking ability is going to be able to be showcased during the season. But he definitely had a special day. Defensively, there was a few guys that flashed. I thought the young corner Devin Sanchez didn't have a pick, didn't have a bunch of big time plays, but when you watch him, just always in position, always good coverage, contesting passes, and we talked about Sayin and his accuracy and where he was placing the ball. Some of those passes were contested, but he just put the ball in a place where it was hard for the corners to get to. That's what you want to see from a young corner who's just coming in, to be able to just step in there. And to me, really looks like, when you're highly touted like he is, sometimes you get slid into a role where, you're with the twos because we expect you to be something. But he showed that for sure he is something already, and he hasn't even had a fall class yet. So
yeah.
it wasn't a bunch of plays made, but I thought he flashed. Jalen McClain at the safety position, just an impressive player. I think since his freshman year has shown that he belonged at this level, and I think this is going to be the year that he takes off. So I look forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Marlon Graham, look like a lot of balls went to Marlon Graham. It was almost to me, it felt like it was a challenge, right? It's like almost like you've been having a good spring, and now we're at the spring game. We're gonna light you up and see how you perform under a real live situation. I believe he stepped up to the plate. Obviously, big plays, one touchdown for sure. Could have got another one, obviously, also off a nice move that he put on. With a 5-versus-5 situation, a nice move that he put on, and was able to. The ball just didn't go his way. But I think he played well, man. I also want to shout out Quincy Porter, right? I think he was the first true freshman to lose his black stripe in the spring. Yep. And so I got to get my eyes on him. Man, he's a big guy, man. He almost looks like a tight end out there, man. So he's got the size for sure.
Yeah, just like
at that wideout spot.
The size, he doesn't have Jeremiah Smith's bulk yet. But he made in like 6 months. Like it's almost it's really starting to be a little bit unfair. I look at Penn State, and Penn State can't find a receiver to lead that group year after year after year. And Ohio State just has, they probably got guys who can run routes that are, cleaning the locker room right now. Like there's so many talented receivers. And Quincy Porter is just another one, man. Just a specimen physically, and a very talented receiver who can do everything on the field. They got this offense. I want to give a shout out to Chip Kelly, right? And this may sound crazy, but Chip Kelly comes in, and for 1 year, you have a guy who can take over the offensive play calling duties to allow Ryan Day to shift over to be the head coach for a year, so he can get the feel for letting go. How do I work as kind of the CEO? That same guy can help stabilize the offense and run that system, and gives guys like Brian Hartline and others who are in position to move up. And basically, Brian Hartline is basically already in that position as offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator. But it gives them the opportunity to figure out, their groove as well. And then he leaves. And as you mentioned, this offense just feels like they roll into this next year.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the defense. And I want to get your perspective, being at the game, watching it. What's your take on the defense?
Not their best day, right? Obviously, it's spring, and you're not bringing everything, right? You just kind of lining guys up and watching them play. You're not, if you got exotic blitzes and packages and things like that, you probably won't put it out in the spring game. Because once again, you just want your guys to line up and play. Sonny Styles looked fantastic, man. Looked like he kind of is still growing in that linebacker role there to make some plays, flash in the backfield a few times, things of that nature. But overall, up front, man, I'll be honest, the defense just didn't have a great day. And it really starts up front with them. The defensive line, in my opinion, did not win many of their one-on-one situations, run or pass. Runs looked like they was kind of getting pushed around. Early on in the day, I'm sitting in the stands. I'm sitting in the end zone too, so I kind of got like a nice view of the line, especially when the ball is close to me. And it felt like if it was a real game situation, Ohio State could just run the ball every play. They could just line up, run the ball against our defense, and then it wasn't going to be catch much resistance. Most of those plays they just felt like they were going to be successful. And I think they've been calling it out. Like our defensive tackles need to step it up. And after watching one spring game, I could agree that they need to step it up a little bit. You got a little bit more experience on the edge, right, with KJ and Caden Curry. And it's a spring. Like they could have been mentally not, ready to go to get their best day, and they could do that. They got a little bit of experience. But overall, as a unit, it just didn't feel like they was up for the task of the day of being disruptive, affecting the young quarterbacks that we just kind of mentioned had a great day. And also just playing the run, right? Just kind of, holding your own, holding your point, creating the pile, all those things that you want your defense to do, especially from a Matt Patricia defense, when the Patriot way is stopping the run.
Right.
We didn't quite get that Saturday. So
yeah, I think, and I'm not a huge get somebody out of the portal guy, but I think we need to go get a D tackle. I just think we need to go get a D tackle because this is the slippery slope you're on when you're at Ohio State. If you to go into the season, you don't have the depth at the tackle position, and you have a little bit of a leaky defense in the run game. Now you got to try to fix that with more blitzes and a bunch of scheme to try to make sure that you're not giving up a lot in the run, and it becomes a challenge for you throughout the season. You get one guy out of the portal to just add another layer of depth. You can ensure that you have a stout run defense, and everybody else, all those playmakers, all those 5-stars, all those talented players, guys like Sonny Styles, etc., can stay clean and be able to make plays. But if you don't, or if a guy gets nicked up, you don't got to have the depth. The train could get off the tracks, and it could really hurt the season. So I know Ryan Day has continued to challenge those defensive tackles, and I believe there's a scenario where we go into the season, you find out who that third, fourth guy is. These guys step up, and there's and that doesn't become an issue long term. But I don't know if you risk it. And I say go out the port. That's assuming there's somebody there, right? There may not be anybody there. I don't know, the protocol for tampering. I don't know. Mark Tony, I'm not accusing y'all of anything, but we know tampering goes on. So if you got some relationships out there, put some feelers out there, some high school coaches, etc., let them text their guys and let them know. But I think as you mentioned, I think that's where it starts.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. Being able to plug the run, stop the run. I know the defense was limited in what defenses they were actually doing. But at a minimum, they're running cover 3. Everybody has a gap. Go get your gap. I just want guys to go there, get your gap. Yeah, the offense is good. The offensive line is good. The running backs are good. Everybody on the offense is good. But 3-4 yard runs shouldn't turn to 12 yards. Right? All these explosive run plays. I think that's something that they're gonna have to pay real attention to and really figure out, okay, how do we make sure that this doesn't become an issue in a potentially long season with a college football playoff. So that's important. I think but my take defensively is that obviously on the defensive line have to have a better day. I thought we saw some flashes in pass rush, some guys who could get off the
Like,
edge,
yeah,
some linebackers who came up and made plays. The corners look good overall. That who's going to be that third corner? I'm not sure. I thought Aaron Scott had an up and down day, slipped a few times. You can't slip when you play corner. It's just the reality of the situation. You can't fall. I think bad eyes put him in bad situations a few times. And then the safeties. Obviously, Caleb Downs is going to be the guy. I thought Jalen McClain had a good day. I'm not sure. Malik Harford, he has to play better. And everything out of camp, out of spring, has said that he had a good spring, right? So you don't want to read too much into the spring game, but he has to be a guy. He has to be another key player for this defense, because we lose Lathan Ransom from last year, and our safety play, our nickel play, was elite. If there's any concern I don't have a concern about Caleb Downs, but if there's any concern, it's just the collective of the safeties being able to play at they don't need to be at the exact same level as last year, but the safeties in the nickel corner to be at a level close to last year. That would be those two areas, the defensive tackles and kind of that safety nickel area. That's what I'm really paying attention to see how they continue to develop and what they bring this fall.
Yep, and some few hits, and then we're going to get out of here and start talking about what everybody in college football is talking about. But there's quick hits that I want to shout out. C.J. Higgs need to work on his first step. Zion Grady, the true freshman, he could play. He'd probably be able to contribute this season. Bo Jackson looked good fighting for that third running back spot as a true freshman behind him and Sam Williams-Dixon. They're going to compete for that spot. That's going to keep going on, but Bo had himself a pretty solid day. And then I think the winner of the transfer portal is Max Clear coming to Ohio State. He's going to be primed for a huge season here at Ohio State. We didn't even get to get into it, but just know it's coming. Yeah, but just real quick, man, we want to get into what's being talked about across the college nation, right? We have a big-time quarterback led us into the playoffs, and Nico down for Tennessee and the Volunteers. Basically, stopped coming to practice at the end of it. Say he's negotiating for a bigger deal, and then essentially the team come out with an announcement that he's no longer going to be a part of the team. He could go ahead and enter the portal, man. I guess it's a lot to unpack there, but let's try to get into it, man.
Yeah, and all that stuff. I mean, it seems like it's been received as all of this is factual, but you never know for sure exactly how everything went down. But it appears that after the season completed, even before the playoffs, he was actually looking for more money. And he gets to camp. He participated, not camp, in spring. He participated in spring. He just didn't finish. And this is where, to me, it gets a little funny. It gets a little weird because holding out in college, when the spring, the transfer portal is going to open up, doesn't seem like it's really that effective, right? Because it hurts the perception. It hurts your personal brand, and it makes people feel kind of a certain way about you.
Yeah, like you quit. Yeah, say it. Yeah, like you quit on your team.
Quitting.
Yeah.
And it's the spring. You're not getting hurt. You're not getting hit. You could finish out the spring. You can still ask for more money. I just think for him, there's nothing wrong with wanting more money. There's nothing wrong with requesting more money, in my opinion. I just think the structure that the NCAA has given players and teams isn't conducive, or is pretty much leading to these types of situations because there is no structure. And a kid like this, I don't know who is advising him in actually handling this situation, but with lack of structure, it's going to lead to probably a lot of bad advice and bad situations similar to this.
Yeah, so let's really dive into it though, Tim, because I mean it's layered here, right? So you got a guy, and Nico, obviously, if he's going to the table asking for more money, what did he obviously, like you said, you don't know where he got his advice from, but you know what that advice was. Man, you getting underpaid to be the starting quarterback at Tennessee, man. You led them to the playoffs, man. They just made XYZ dollars as a university and a conference because you got them to the playoffs.
And they never make the playoffs.
They never make the playoffs, right? And so now you're at this tier, right? You're a top tier guy. So even if you was getting paid as a top tier guy 2 years ago, whenever you joined the team, you're not there anymore. So we need to renegotiate. This is your time to make money, right? And then you got Tennessee on the other hand. It's like, man, this is just too tough. I think even if no matter how much money you have, you got a budget, right? And it's like, man, can we afford to get it to him? We don't like the way he's going about this. This kind of feels like he's strong arming us, right? And you kind of starting to feel that there. But I think it all kind of got to go back to, like you said, the NCAA. You guys, they had 30 years to come up with some type of plan to put together so guys could receive compensation. They can receive it in a fair way, some type of evaluated way that they can receive money. And we got to this point because it was just zero. And it was at zero for so long. And so it got to a point where guys was like, this is not right, right? And so what happened? I think we had to go to the federal court. Like, yeah, this is unconstitutional. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But, it kind of got legal like that. And then what? Now the floodgates come in. And now you got guys that, feel like they're slighted, even though we don't know what he's getting paid. Like rumors start flying around about what he was getting and what compared to what he was asking for. The truth of the matter is we don't know.
We really don't.
But we know that at the end of the day, he got some advice from somewhere that made him feel slighted. And also take this back, that he felt slighted. And also someone's willing to give him that number, right? Wherever that number was.
Yeah.
He usually he somewhere like, man, they say they'll do it over here. Both those things are happening. And then the university feeling like, we getting bullied and the guy's not being fair and not, withholding his contract that we put in place for him. So, they decided to make a decision as well. It's tough on both. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I feel like Nico looks he's gonna get shoved because he's just that one individual, right?
He comes out looking bad. And it's whoever gives him the advice and say, look, you're getting underpaid, you should ask for more money. They have to consider that you may come out looking bad, right? Like that's part of that has to be part of the consideration. And if you do it in the wrong way, some other teams may be cool on you because they may say, okay, if we give you the money, I mean, he's still a young player. He still has more years of eligibility. If we give you the money, you may come back in the next year and say, I want more. Do it again. So that has to be something of consideration. I think I would imagine, because it all comes down to supply and demand, I would imagine someone was willing to pay him that, or someone has mentioned that they're willing to pay him that, which is where that number comes from. To me, if that's the case, finish out spring, go tell your school, like, I want this amount. And if they say no, I mean, it's not realistic for us to do that. If you want to go transfer to the school who's willing to pay you that. And it's over with. Or if Tennessee says no, you know what, we'll up you, but don't hold out a spring ball. The last week of spring ball, like,
don't make it so public. Yeah.
don't make it so public. Let's do it. Finish. Because you still building towards a future. You're still building towards something. Continue to get better at football. Keep the main thing. And if you want to maximize the money, go maximize it. The other thing is there's other things at play, in my opinion. It should be other things at play. You should have a few goals aside from just money, right? Development. Yep. Can you help me get to the ultimate goal of getting to the next level? And if I'm a quarterback, I will consider that in my decision. If I want to go to my current team and say, look, pay me more, I need to make sure the next team I go to is either going to pay me more or at least be a better place for me to develop to the next level, right? Like, honestly, if I'm Tennessee's quarterback, I would go to Ohio State for a little bit less to get developed. I might go to a USC or someone who has a track record of having first-round quarterbacks year after year after year. Because, that's something that you should take into consideration. I don't know what his consideration set was.
Right. Yeah, no, but I mean, that's just realistic, right? And that's the college football that the NCAA set up for us, right? Yeah. And that's what we got to live with and watch, right? And try to navigate it as fans.
It's just so bad. It's just there's nothing that's truly being governed, and then randomly you hear, this team gets sanctions for, taking a recruit to McDonald's and getting them a cheeseburger. It's like, come on, man. Like it's just it's gotten out of hand, and I just assume that those at the top have no clue what to do, or they've planned for what they're going to do 5 years down the road. In the meantime, it's just going to be chaos until they get to that point. So
yeah, so it's almost like if you're a college football fan, you love your team for that year. You love that player, that team for that season, because there's no next year they could go on to the NFL, or they also could just go to maybe the rival school, because that's a better opportunity for them. That's what we live in. But hey, that's our show for you guys today. Obviously, we'll be back in next week. We're talking some more Ohio State football. What's going on? Getting ready to gear up here. Obviously, the guys get a break. But with us fans, we get to stay locked in and geared up, get ready for the summer. And what that entails for our guys as they continue to improve and get ready for that 2025 season as the defending national champions. As always, we end our shows with a nice OH.
Ayo.
And, oh yeah, one more thing. Hey, NBA season, playoffs is coming. Bet online, that's your spot. It'll be exciting. Play-in games are starting soon, man. It'll be a good playoff because I feel like the NBA's in a weird spot. No really dominant team, so it should be a good one. But yeah, tune in to Bet Online if you want to place bets. And then if you're watching Ohio State football, you tune in to us. I think it works like that. And that's our show for today, guys. Catch you next time. Go Bucks.